Hey folks, MasakoX here. 2021 may be drawing to a close, but we're still going with our story in regards to what might happen had Goku's wife taken more initiative back in the Days of the Fire Mountain episodes to then ingratiate herself into the main story as part of the core members of the Dragon Team, alongside her husband in battle. For the most part, things have been quite good, with her offering many cool moments as part of the overall team. However, with powers starting to get quite astronomical and age providing alternative and different wants and needs, priorities change, might we be seeing a change of mood within Chi-Chi that is still in keeping with her character? In the last part, we tackled the revelation that was future Goten that graced our screens, and not future Trunks. In that future, the one in this story, Trunks had died thanks to the androids and the cold and distant mood of future Gohan, who was far colder and crueler thanks to the lingering influence of Raditz and Vegeta from when he was a little boy. This version of Goku's son was far more vicious and uncaring, and that led to Goten, the younger brother, disowning him effectively, and Chi-Chi there, in the midst of all this, losing her faculties and magical connection, her being completely thrown for a loop. With Goten's warning of the future, our heroes trained, finished off 19, and Jiro, with 16, 17 and 18 escaping, but things looking more positive for our heroes at the very least. It also led to Goten beginning to stop superimposing his brotherly hate onto the past Gohan, who at this time had not really done anything wrong, and perhaps find a way to patch things up for his own soul's sake. And as that's going on, Vegeta had used cold evisceration to escape and regroup on Earth and make his way into the fold to some degree, and this comes to a flashpoint where the Room of Spirit and Time hones into view, and he offers to go in with Chi-Chi to help train to really hammer home the droids and their threat to Earth. Now, despite Goku and the others objecting to this, Chi-Chi is more than happy to stick it to the prince multiple times. But might this be a bad move, Chi? We shall see. We shall touch upon Gohan and Goten's time in the room together first, since they got effectively first dibs. Sure enough, this turned out indeed to be a valuable time for both of them. In there, the brothers from other dimensions managed to figure things out, the elder of the two seeing that this version of his brother had time to realise the errors in idolising Vegeta and Saiyan so damn much. Yes, Gohan had begun to do that, but then the android menaces kinda put that to the wayside, soothed his way of thinking. He had no choice but to fall back on those impulses just to stay alive. Now though, Gohan had seen firsthand what that led to. He didn't like the idea of not only his future little brother hating him, but also his family be torn asunder. That was far too much to bear for the 9-year-old. The pair of them grew close, and Goten was able to start to mend his troubled mind a little bit, feel far less resentment for what had happened. What was the point of repeating everything that had happened in the past for no seemingly adequate reason? All it did was foster further negative emotions to other people who didn't deserve it. When that dawned on him, the pair of them found incredible gains, with Goten finding a path to Super Saiyan Grade 3, whilst Gohan unlocked the first 2 grades. This is also where Gohan demonstrated his further skills with the magical affinity that he had inherited from their mother. Sure, Goten was strong, but because of his more empathic and softer nature, it meant that his inner beast was not nearly as potent. He decided to rely instead on martial arts, something far more consistent and reliable. At least in that future. I mean, come on, look what happened to Chi-Chi in that timeline. And on top of that, he was simply too nice, and despite him feeling so sorrowful and resentful toward his future brother, his beast was still not stirred enough. It was there, but he was nowhere near as good as his brother was, and that reflected in the past as well. Super Saiyan and the inner flaming bull was a powerful mixture when you got it right. When they emerged, Gohan was taller, calmer, and far more reassured, whereas Goten had bulked up and also looked relaxed. Whatever they had gone through in there was positive for both of them. This made Chi-Chi here very happy, and more motivated to head on in there with Vegeta and gain her own sense of clarity and peace from within. However, she wasn't going to get that. Not at all. After a few days within, It had become clear that their time together was not going to end up the same as Goten and Gohan's, with them becoming friends or anything close to that. Instead, it turned out that Vegeta had only brought her in there to use her as part of his own plan to catch up to Kakarot and her. You see, he knew that Chi-Chi hated his guts for what he did to pollute her brat's fragile child mind back on Namek and before. She would not hesitate in pummeling into the dirt this one. It was a mother's natural instinct to protect their offspring. Any sign of threat, no matter how persistent, would need to be purged and staved off from their children. Vegeta didn't care about any of this. He knew she wouldn't kill him. She was too nice. They needed him also to fend off the androids and any other menace. This was all part of his plan. To get one over her, to use her anger and rage against her and for his own gain, and knowing she wouldn't do a damn thing about it. It dawned on Chi-Chi about a few months in. They had not found solace, sought an understanding, or even begun to tolerate one another in all that time. And yet, it had gotten harder and harder to beat Vegeta up in that time. She had gotten stronger, sure, but he was improving faster than her. That must obviously be that Saiyan power that he, Goku, and her children share. The passive skill to greatly increase their battle strength upon major injury and subsequent recovery. The gap between them was narrowing, and if this kept going, he would surpass her considerably. She walked out of the central chamber and out into the nothingness, utterly broken. She had been tricked. Vegeta only brought her in here for his own ends, to get back at her, to toy with her emotions. She should have listened to Goku the moment that he had suspicion about this. He knew what Vegeta would do. Well, it didn't matter now. She was totally flummoxed and felt like she had been well and truly compromised. Vegeta found her sulking and approached her, but she didn't attack.
I see. Then you have figured it out.
Yeah, I did. You're nothing but a lowlife sneak out for himself. Vegeta tugged his glove.
You should never have gotten on my bad side. All that did was make you cocky, feel invincible. I am a patient one when the needs arise. You saw it for yourself, didn't you? Back when Nappa fought your friends. I could wait. Bide my time. I've spent my entire life doing that, under Frieza's boot. Waiting for the moment to pounce and claim domination. When you laid into me on Namek, that was the latest moment. I knew that one day I would end up being stronger than you all. And that time is almost here. So what are you going to do? Kill me where I stand? You wouldn't dare. You need me to fend off those tin cans. It wouldn't look good to your kids if you stooped even lower than you already have.
He walked past her and lifted her head up so that their eyes met.
What I am not telling you is to give up. You may as well keep on training. After all, you are getting some gains from this too. Do you detest the idea that I will surpass you?
He let go.
Then fight with everything you've got to make sure that doesn't happen. Then you will get that victory and salvation that you and your friends are craving.
Chi-Chi accepted this, and despite feeling utterly ashamed of herself for having agreed to this farce, she understood that Vegeta's pep talk had a point. She understood that he was right. They had to train. They had to get stronger. And so that's what they did. They both did. When it came time for them to emerge, their clothes summed up their mood. Tattered, torn, shadows of their former selves. Sure, they had improved in the strength department. But was it worth it? Wait. Where was everyone? Wait. Where's Kami? Things had gotten so dire according to Mr. Popo. Another threat had arose, which meant that the others had to step in to stop the androids. And another beast, named Cell. Kami had to fuse with Piccolo so that they could keep up with this power. Once they had been informed, both Vegeta and Chi-Chi felt the full impact of this abomination. It was like a mixture of everybody melded into one, including her. Yes, this Cell had Chi-Chi's DNA as well as some magical mana in there too. It had been baked into her DNA, and despite Jiro's best efforts and desires to not resort to magic tricks trying to get it out, he couldn't. It was hardwired into there, and so thusly, the Doctor had no choice but to go with it. After all, if it fulfilled his objective then, oh well. It was one small admission in an otherwise tech-driven goal. Popo told them that they had better stop off at Corrin's to get a sensu bean if they were to be of use in the battle, and they did just that. With them beamed up, they headed off to find Cell fighting... Android 17? Wait, the bad guys were now fighting the new bad guy? They'd been in there a long time. Goku and Chi-Chi embraced, and he explained to her who this guy was. He had wanted to go into the time chamber with Piccolo Goku, but this sudden interloper had taken that off the table for the moment. And then things got worse when 17 was absorbed. Chi-Chi spotted a familiar trait to Cell powering up. The bug droid looking more androgynous this time than the original version we're used to, has then transformed into his perfect form. And despite 16 doing his best, he wasn't enough to fend off semi-perfect Cell, and not even the other fighters could cope with semi-perfect Cell. Something of which became evident when Cell locked eyes with Chi-Chi.
Ah, yes. Welcome, Chi-Chi. I've been wanting to meet you. I have you to thank for your magical gift.
He conjured up a little green flaming bull which ran up and down his arms.
This little trinket of power has been rather useful in staving off your friends. I am so glad that the doctor was unable to remove this valuable trait from my makeup. It has proven to be rather useful. Again, thank you so much.
Chi-Chi was floored. Again. As if Vegeta showing her up in the time chamber wasn't enough. Cell had been able to use her own trick against her friends. This freak of nature was the culmination of all of them. So without further hesitation, she powered up and began to fight Cell there and then. And despite her gains in the chamber with Vegeta, it was nothing against this monster. Again, her choice to go with the prince was proving to be the worst decision she had made in her life. However, it did provide one positive from all of this. This version of Cell was a little more empathic and understanding, thanks to Chi-Chi's DNA and makeup. He wasn't planning on killing them all right now. Cell wanted to see what they could do on an even playing field. And this is where the Cell game idea comes in still. Yes, he would state if they failed, he would blow the planet up, but he added the caveat, Cell, that he wanted to see them all at their best, not when they were all downtrodden and unable to pluck up the courage and gusto to give him a good show. 10 days. That's what they had. That's what they had to get even stronger. And with that, Cell just flew off, leaving them all to figure things out for themselves. The next morning, after the two had, well, used their time left, Goku asked Chi-Chi if she wanted to go back in the chamber for the remaining 6 months of time she had left before her limit using it was up. No, Goku, I can't. You can go in with Gohan. He needs you more than me. I'll find a way. With that, she told Goku and Gohan to go into the Room of Spirit and Time together, while she went off to go and see an old friend. That friend being fortune teller Barber. With the rest of the team either resting or training to fend off Cell as best they can, Chi-Chi spent her remaining time with Barber, the latter confused as to why she would be coming back here after all this time.
I don't understand what I can offer you, kid. Your power is far beyond mine.
On paper, yes. But I've lost my way. I've got 9 days to save the world. Whatever you and this place can offer me is most welcome. That beast is horrific. Barber nodded.
Indeed. Cell is a troublesome foe. What with them possessing your magical characteristics and whatnot, from what I could sense, they rely on that a lot. Sucks to be you.
Again, Barber wasn't the kindest and most tactful person going. If only there was a way to turn it off. What Jiro wanted. Barber looked up.
Wait, turn it off, you say?
Chi-Chi looked up and sniffed. Yeah, what about it? The old witch grinned.
I've got an idea, kid, and I think we've got enough time to make it work.
With that kernel of hope, Chi-Chi prepared herself for a crash course in whatever Barber had in mind. When the time came for the games, Chi-Chi was ready. Now rested, she flew to meet the rest of her teammates and found them to be ready also. Chi-Chi chose to keep her cards close to her chest, waiting for the right moment to unleash her and Barber's plan. Goku elected to go first, like in the original, and proceeded to whittle Cell down with his full power Super Saiyan strength. Like in the original, it wasn't enough to beat Cell, but it was a decent fight, and Cell's dominance was exacerbated with his arcane boosts. Chi-Chi detested the presence of Cell, making this into a classic tournament format, and yet it had tricked the humans, thinking this to be a legit contest. It was being televised, and the current 24th champion, Hercule, was there to gloat and await his time to shine. Chi-Chi used telekinesis to keep him from stepping into the ring for his own sake. He was effectively iced out of the contest through an invisible wall. Before Goku called time on his fight, Chi-Chi gathered the group around her, even Vegeta.
Okay, when I give the word, attack Cell with everything you've got.
Chi-Chi, are you crazy? If we break the rules, Cell will blow up the planet in once.
Trust me, this'll work,
hits Chi-Chi with a confident expression. That calmed Krillin down. Vegeta was skeptical though, but chose to humor her. I mean, what else did she have to cling on to? Chi-Chi tagged in with Goku and faced off Cell. He had been worn down a little bit, but this time, Goku doesn't throw the senzu bean to Cell, since that wasn't part of his plan with Gohan and all. The gang informed Goku of what Chi-Chi's about to do, and he goes along with it, choosing to use the bean on himself. Cell is confused.
Really? You plan to fight me? I can tell you've not improved much since we last met. Why are you so keen to die? At this rate, you'll be dying of embarrassment.
Chi-Chi was silent and got into a stance, and the fight began. Cell wasn't wrong though. Chi-Chi was clearly on the back foot throughout all of this, and this was leading Cell down a very one-way street. He had all their DNA, which included Saiyan DNA. This meant that in the moment of battle, he was very much single-minded on the prize. That's the moment when Chi-Chi got up and unleashed a giant ball of flame. Only this time, it was black. It sped towards Cell, but Cell didn't attempt to block or dodge it. He sensed nothing powerful about this, thinking this was just some kind of diversionary tactic, and so chose to take it. Big mistake. The bull washed over him and disappeared from view. But seconds later, when Cell began to resume the fight, he felt off.
What's going on?
He tried to summon up his magical boost, but it failed. Cell's expression looked desperate, whereas Chi-Chi looked triumphant.
You see, Cell? You were right. I may be weak compared to you, but when it comes to smarts, it's no contest.
Cell tried to flare up the inner beast, but nothing happened. Now! Shouted Chi-Chi, and that was the signal for everyone to land their strongest attacks, and with Cell compromised in terms of his magical boosts, it left him relatively powerless to fend off at least 10 sources of attacks at once, and that led to him being overwhelmed. The last thing he saw was Chi-Chi's smiling face.
Losing, eh? It's a right turn-off, wouldn't you say?
Cell understood what had happened and grimaced before the powers overtook him.
You conniving bitch!
He was gone. Vaporized. He was no more. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? What will be the aftermath of all of this? Will Chi-Chi have regained her confidence after beating Cell? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!